Christina Vo, let's use this as a chance to talk about meditation. It's an interest we both enjoy. This earlier this week, a couple of friends were both surprised that I was into meditation, and I said, "Well, it's essential." So we've meditated together a couple of times, but you really see it as a practice. And for those who aren't schooled in it, you focus on breathing, you clear your mind of all thoughts. What can you tell us for us amateur meditators?
It's interesting because during this Joe Dispenza retreat, he tries to get people into this, first through he has a number, a few different meditations, but one is sort of like that starts with like a breath work, the pineal gland meditation, which, you move energy from, through basically the chakras. He calls them energy centers. You can kind of retrain your mind body connection, right? Because basically uh, like, and what I mentioned about stories is that, you can't change your life if you're reliving the same thing every day, right? If you wake up, and he said 86% of people wake up, and they do the same thing. You do the same thing. I mean, I do this. And when he was talking, I'm like, wow, most people, 86% of people will grab their phones. So it's because then you need the reinforcement of, okay, this is my identity. This is who I am. Grab my phone, check my Facebook, check my Instagram, check Twitter, check all the things that reinforce a specific identity, right? Like, oh, I got this many likes. I didn't get likes on this. Like, this is important. This isn't important. This is happening in the news. This is my worldview. And I want to reinforce that. So if you do the same thing every day, nothing, your life is not really going to change. And this is also about our past experiences, right? If we had a very, traumatic experience, let's say with relationships, and have this story that relationships always go in a certain direction, we will live through that story. With Joe Dispenza's meditations, it's very much about, kind of getting beyond the connecting with the energetic field and creating through the energetic field. But to do that, you have to, release what your body has been conditioned to do, and then recreate, create new experiences. And so most people, and I see this, you can learn a lot about people in basically, like, the first 10 minutes of whatever they want to share with you. It's I've learned it's very simple to learn one's programming, right? So and especially then, if you spend enough time with people, many people are sharing the same story again and again and again, right? Like, oh, they're mad at this person, and if it's not that person, it's this other person. It's just sort of a record, on repeat. And this also links to why Santa Fe was so magical for me, like not knowing anyone, right? Not being in a completely different space, not having the same routine. And I don't know if you feel that way, on your current, being in France now. And I think that's why travel is so essential for people to just take themselves out of an environment and you know reprogram the brain, basically create different neural pathways to the story and the experience. And so, it was really funny because, like, when at part of the retreat, when he was talking about this going through the whole, like, scientific process and explaining where he was trying to get to, he's like, you just have to, be in this place of no body, no mind, no time, like, you're just basically in space. There's so much scientific evidence around this. We can actually change matter. So through our thoughts, we can, and being in this energetic field, if we're aligned, if the emotions of that future experience of whatever we want to have is greater than our current experience, we can actually create that, in align with that in this field of energy, and then it will manifest in our lives. It will be brought to us. The challenge is, getting yourself in that space. And I think, as it relates to, like, what we should do for meditation, it's just the consistency of the practice, doing two morning meditation and an evening meditation. And I feel great. Whether my routine will allow me to continue to do this, I don't know, but I wish this for everyone. I on the drive back from Denver, I was like calling all my girlfriends, sending voice notes, and just, please, like, I want everyone that I'm close to understand the power we have through our minds and through our energy and what we can create.
Christina, can you tell us a little bit about your routine and how that fits with meditation, how the two may go hand in hand?
As I mentioned before, writing is definitely my sort of spiritual practice. And I think meditation is also a spiritual practice. This isn't so much about routine, but how I do like to play with my mind, in the sense of I like to tell my mind what to do, basically. So like I said, the 2 hour sort of increments of, I'm going to devote 5 to 7 or 5:30 to 7:30, whenever I wake up, that time to sort of writing. And then I love first drafts, because it's like the moment where you can just dump everything, right? Because then we can just revise. So the first draft phase to me is like falling in love, because it's a spiritual connection to me. And very often, like with the writing, like I feel like what comes through is not me. Even with the book, like, it's not coming out until next spring. And actually, it's they couldn't do it. My pub date couldn't be exactly on the death anniversary of my mother, but it's the day before the death anniversary, and that's very special to me. But that book doesn't even feel like it belongs to me anymore. I ushered it through the world. I put it together. It has a title, it has a cover. It's now its own entity. I mean, I'm very whatever happens to it will happen to it. But I get a lot of questions about, writing routine, because a lot of my friends know that I'm pretty structured about it. And I think the same is true just for meditation. It's just, you just have to make time for things that are important to you, and things that are life affirming, and move, your energy forward, and move your life forward, really, rather than those things that might drain you or bring you back down, or repetitive stories that don't serve much, except to reaffirm a past identity that you might not want to, um, associate with anymore. So to me, right, writing, spirituality, meditation, it feels like it's all in its same sort of world to me. There's so much on the outside, but I believe everything that you need is actually on the inside. And once you claim that, life sort of unfolds in this really magical way.
What is the difference between just like what I do is, either set a timer or not and focus on my breathing and clear my mind of thoughts, or of all thoughts,
Hmm.
which sounds fairly simple, but once you begin to clear your mind of thoughts, then they start to pop up out of nowhere. So, do you think it's beneficial to have a meditation teacher?
Well, I don't think it's so much about having a teacher. There's a group in Santa Fe that I like that sometimes join on Zoom. I think if you have some challenges, like getting into a routine, sometimes like having a external source to sort of that you're committed to, right? That you're going to this group, or a friend, even, the friends that I met at the Joe Dispenza retreat, just texting each other, and trying to get to like 30 days of consistent meditation. So I think it's not so much a teacher. I do really like guided meditations, and kind of like with the whole Joe Dispenza thing, there's a whole science behind it. Actually, that's that he's that, and and even going through the whole weekend, where you're getting the science, you're getting the lessons, and then you're doing the meditations, you can kind of understand like what you can actually do in meditation. So I think there's so many different types of meditations. I think clearing your mind and just being in that state where you're not in a fight or flight mode, because that's when you can get into the creative force of your life, right? And then actually, and then going beyond that, of just clearing your mind, then you can start to create in that energetic field. So you can start to set an intention of things that you desire, and start, I don't know if you want to call it imagining or manifesting, but that's sort of another level of where I think you can get. I think you can enter this field, and literally create with your thoughts. But clearing the mind, I think, is the first step for that.